organic.
All right.
We can get into it, and I'll cut in a few minutes and introduce you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're like gonna talk for a bit first, and then we're gonna flow with things. But it's like, okay,
we're not planning, Ellie. There's no plan.
Well, that's the lesson lately too, is me learning how to just okay. This is good.
We can breathe together. On my voicemail, part of my voicemail is me like breathing.
Hey, I like that.
With people. It's been that way on like my past 3 voicemails for like 5 years, and people always have given me like really positive feedback. Yes. Even like strangers who will call me, like random people, they're like, thank you for that.
You started off with a breath? Or is it like...
It starts off with like, you've reached Rose, blah, 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 blah. And then something about like, you know, before you leave a message, let's take 3 breaths together.
I love that. That's amazing. Because I literally just changed my voicemail like a couple weeks ago, because I realized someone was like, your voicemail is really abrasive, because it was like, the person you cannot reach is not here. And they were like, I don't like that voice. So then I made one, and I was like, hey, Ellie here. Like, sorry, I can't get to your call. But I said something, I was like, you can leave me a message or telepathically send me one. I'll get it either way. And I was like, have a good day. Like, I hope I like love yourself. Or I said something like that. I can't remember. But I've had like a couple people say something, and I was like, yes, someone actually like they're hearing it. It's fun to add a little like flair in there, you know? So I love that you did that too. I like the breath idea. That's a good one.
Well, yeah, I want it to be similar to a general intention that I have for how I want to serve. I want my voicemail to be a time and space where people can feel like, oh, I can slow down. Like, it's okay. I can just be here for a second, right? Like, so much of our lives is this like, what's next? What's next? Yeah.
I love that. Yes.
Yeah. Welcome to the Naturally Rosie podcast. My name's Rose. I'm here with my friend Ellie Van Camp. I did that right?
Yeah, so that's my birth name, Ellie Van Camp, but Ellie Michelle is kind of, I feel like people don't know me as that unless they went to high school with me. I changed my name on Facebook to Ellie Michelle, which is my middle name. And I also didn't realize, were we recording during the voicemail talk?
Yeah.
Was that, oh, okay, cool. Hey, I kind of clicked someone, I was like, oh, whoa, I was like, we're beginning. Oh, yeah, okay.
You want to breathe again?
Yeah, breathing is so good. That's it. That's the greatest medicine there is our breath and our body. We have it all with us, but I'm good.
Spirit.
Good, but...
It's pneuma, is the root word there. Pneuma, like pneumonia.
Oh, yeah.
Means spirit, I think, and breath. Anyway, there's like a lot of interweaving between those 2 words, and I think through like multiple different language etymological root systems.
Yes, or prana, I know that word
prana.
Is like breath of life or life breath, something like that. But yes, the breath is life.
We've known this for a long time, people.
It's so simple. It can be so simple to just be present in the breath. And but yes, who am I? I am
Ellie Michelle.
Ellie Michelle, yes, or L. That's like my artist creator name, just a good old uppercase L. You know, I like it in cursive too. That's like how I sign my paintings. But yeah, I for when I write and sign things, it's an L. I like to simplify. You know, just keep it short and sweet, right? But otherwise, it's funny because I say that, and that's the goal, right? Is to consolidate, simplify, minimize. But there's so many complexities, and what I write, and my books are full of many words and ideas and complex things, but the goal is to the breath, bring it back into the body, the breath, the moment, and the dance between all of the different things. So
yeah. So you're a writer?
Yes, I write. I do write.
Yes. I own 2 of your books.
Hey, I have 2 books and the process. So yeah, one is called Ellie.
I think you even like signed them.
I think I did. It's so funny. It still feels kind of I don't know. It's been an interesting process of publishing and sharing my words and feeling this kind of like resistance still to that's even something that I've done or sharing it. It feels like it's such like a vulnerable, intimate thing, like what I've put into my books and sharing them. And so there's a part of me that still likes to feel almost like I'm in like hiding with it, or that it's like it feels weird to like I'm still kind of working through that of sharing myself and my voice. And so yeah, as a writer, I feel more comfortable in the comfort of my space writing, whether through like my social media, I'll share stuff, but to share myself and my words in person and even talking about my book is still, it's like a new thing for me. I feel like I like my privacy with my thoughts and feelings, but at the same time, I feel like I really want to share them simultaneously. So, learning how to really, show up in real time in person and talk about my book, share my book. This spring, I really want to get out and do some open mics and share my voice and my creations with the world outside of the comfort of my little bubble. And I like my comfortable cave and bubble, but I also feel called to step out into the world more and share myself in new ways. And but yeah, writing's always been a place for me to process and understand myself and my life and my thoughts and feelings and create something new out of it. To it was mostly just like journaling for myself. Like my book started off as a collection of like poems and moments that I had written over years of different notebooks and different times in my life. And I had an idea one day to get together all these different poems and specify like, or pick and choose which ones I wanted to share and put them into a collection. So that's how the first book came to be. It was me kind of going through my past and organizing and putting together it into a cohesive story of some time of some kind on a timeline of sorts, but also it kind of shifts and changes between different places and things. And it's a lot.
I'm imagining you like cleaning out your inner closet as you were doing that. Was that how it was?
Yes, definitely. Because as I went to, and over the years, I'll go through and just kind of like, it's so cathartic to rip something out of a notebook and then to burn it, where it's like, okay, this was a time in my life and I, at that moment, felt this way, but I don't need to, this story can be, we can release this and it feels good to let it go and to not bring it forward into my life and what I want to share with the world. So not everything was put in there. It was definitely like, what am I going to keep? What am I letting go? What am I going to share? What am I keeping for myself? So that was definitely a process of, cleaning, definitely organizing my inner world, my outer world through all these different notebooks. Cause I definitely, it's a lot of different notebooks at different times. And there's a few that I've actually finished all the way through, but definitely a ADHD or whatever, where it's just like, I've spread myself out into different places, but it's all organized in its diversity of different things. But it's definitely has helped me unpack and organize and understand what's going on inside of me and create something like transform or alchemize, transmute whatever it is into something that has that I would want to share.
That you can bring back to the tribe. It's like step 12 on the hero's journey. You're like, I have a book for you now.
Yes. It's because it's like, I'm gonna die. Like, we're all gonna die. And my mortality has always been like, I've been very aware of death and knowing that my time is limited. And especially like after having children and like meditating on like what I'm passing down, like what am I going to share with them every day, and then also what am I going to leave behind for not only them but for other people after I'm no longer in my body with my voice and my thoughts and feelings. Like, what am I sharing and gonna physically have to leave behind? So I think that was a driving force in my book too, was like what what am I leaving behind? What can I share with the world that will live on after I pass? And I feel like it can be light as it can be, I guess, but death in itself is definitely there's a lot to say about everything, but it's not that it needs to be heavy, but I've been really sitting with what am I saying?
So much, such a full mind for a 29-year-old.
Thank you.
Yeah. I do wonder if that's becoming more common, or if it's just the people that I choose to put myself around. Like if a larger percentage of the population is becoming more conscious, more aware, more self-aware at a younger age, or if that's not changing and it's just the people that I am exposed to more.
I feel that it is, definitely. Yeah. I have a lot of hope for humanity, and I do feel that like we're evolving and expanding, and the collective consciousness is growing each time like any of us learn something, and it somehow impacts everything around us. And also we attract like attracts like, or you are going to be gravitated towards people who maybe resonate at a certain level or place, and where they're functioning from, or what they're seeing and perceiving and sharing, because it seems like many people, a lot of the mainstream culture is very mindless and thoughtless and consuming and not creating as much, and are not questioning as much, I think. But when you're like questioning and you're seeking and you're wanting to understand, and you're in that curious mind state, which is like a child, that's how we all were born. Like we had a childlike essence of like, oh, let's understand this, but so many people have had that like whipped and beaten out of them, where it's like, oh, just follow an order and follow the status quo and do what's expected of you and what's accepted, and it's really challenging to break out of that mold and to come into yourself and then share yourself and be open and honest and vulnerable about like, here's where I am, here's who I am, here's what I think, here's what I feel. It's definitely out of the norm. I feel like we're not going to maybe see as much of it, but I think that people are coming deeper into themselves and learning these skills in order to share themselves.
We're running into at least theoretically, especially due to hyper novelty, as a collective, we're running into greater levels of challenge. And chaos, and so that's motivating at the collective and individual levels for us to be like, whoa, wait, what's happening?
That we have to respond or learn how to navigate these challenges, or else we're going to be a part of the challenge, or we're not holding our weight or taking responsibility. It's like we literally have to survive, learn how to navigate things in a new way, and it's like all uncharted territory. And to best navigate uncharted territory, one has to be attuned to themselves and have the abilities to even navigate these things, which requires you have to dive within. I mean, and that's where it's like, okay, the breath, right? We come into our bodies, into our breath, into our own inner connection to ourselves, our mind, body, spirit, and then, interacting with those around us in a way that is authentic and with intention, amidst a world that is very often inauthentic and unintentional and just kind of haphazardly, because that's kind of the normal state, it seems like, is there's so much chaos and suffering and sickness and disparity and problems and war, like just that energy of conflict and division and war, and that's been on this planet I don't think for all of the history of this planet. I think at one point there might have been a time, I do feel like there was a time of just peace and harmony, and maybe civilizations that were outside of the realms of the war and suffering and sickness and all of these mortality even, and all these things that we struggle with, but for most of human history it has been a lot of challenge and war and strife, and we're just hyper aware of it now even more because of technology and social media and news. And also, how do we even know if what we're being shown is true and real? of how much of this, of what we're being told is what's actually happening. It's hard to discern like what's really going on unless it's in your direct bubble. So it's like, okay, what is in my direct bubble in my life? Who's around me, like with my connections, family, friends, community? Like that's where we have so much opportunity and work to explore and to take our power back and responsibility and creating the world we do want to see within the realms that we have influence over. Because otherwise the big picture is like, oh my gosh, like, well, there's a lot going on, and what do we do? And it can be helpless. Like you can feel helpless amidst it, but I have so much hope, though. I feel like you gotta start small, like day by day, breath by breath. It's slowing down and being where we are, and also zooming out and seeing, that there's a lot more going on than just what's right directly in front of us. So balance between all of that. And
I have a lot of hope too. I feel, and with that perspective that you just laid out, it can be so simple. That's why I'm such a proponent of personal responsibility and like encouraging people to like use that, that idea of the external world, whatever they're experiencing outside of them, being a mirror for what's going on inside of them, is because if we would just each take responsibility for ourselves, right? Like that would over a very short amount of time create harmony. And that is, it's simple, but it's not easy. Like that's the most challenging work that we could be doing.
Yeah, to take responsibility and accountability is can be very uncomfortable. It's like, ow, ooh, this doesn't feel good. Like I feel shame or embarrassment, and so it's almost easier to deflect responsibility and blame someone or something else and take ownership and say, oh, I have a part in this, because then you have to feel uncomfortable feelings that most of us don't want to feel. So let's like project out into something else and deflect the responsibility to someone or something else.
I love how it all comes down to feelings. Like it's literally it may be oversimplified, but like if we could just like all alchemize our feelings, right? Like, and it doesn't even really start with the intention to change them. It's just like be present with. Like if we would all like, I have a great desire for us to start integrating more emotional intelligence, mindfulness practices, body awareness practices into schools, so that at a young age, children can start learning how to be aware of these things, aware of the different components of the self, so that they don't end up with as much like baggage that they're pulling along as most of us have. Do you do any of that with your boys?
That is a work in progress, because I feel like I'm still learning as I'm teaching, and I wish that I would have had the tools and resources at a younger age to integrate and have that be just a part of my life. But when it's almost the opposite for most of us, where our caregivers didn't have the emotional intelligence or awareness, so we're unlearning a lot of unhealthy coping mechanisms for navigating our emotions. Whereas if we were just taught from a young age, like, oh, how to regulate and feel our feelings and like just let them out, and because often we're things are rejected or repressed or denied, or we're made to feel shame or guilt for just being sad or angry, and we've learned to like keep it in and don't let it out, and then as you're an adult, it's so much harder to release and share ourselves in these vulnerable places because they weren't accepted as in our youth. And oh gosh, and so I'm learning still now how to integrate, like I can know intellectually and theoretically and hypothetically like all these different things, but putting it into practice and action is definitely challenging, especially with two young boys who are, they poke my buttons sometimes very, often. I wouldn't say, I mean, in general, there's a lot to navigate there, and that they have these big feelings, and learning, like reminding them to slow down and breathe into the feeling and not act out of the feeling. Cause often, there's like this tension and this buildup in the body and it wants to come out. And so with these two boys, they'll hit and they'll take and they'll get physical, which it goes back and forth. One person does it, the other person does it back in response. And if someone could be the one to not react out of that, it would deflect, or it would neutralize that. And so yeah, we're definitely a work in progress, all of us, with that. My Elijah is 7 and his brother Eden is 5. And they are so funny and sweet and just like so much fun. And but yeah, it can be very stressful with a lot of the needs that they have, and feeling like my life and my energy and attention is pulled towards them often, which is I love to be there for them and to be a part of their growth and development and share the things that I have learned. And also sometimes it's like I feel like I'm not. It's like, oh my gosh, like I know these things, but it's in a moment when you're triggered and poked, it's so much harder to I keep the word navigate keeps coming up because I feel like it's uncharted territory. And that's also something that's been coming up lately in life. It's like, man, this is all new. And like, there's so many books about parenting, but until you actually have a child in front of your face with their own unique personality and needs, and in a moment, how am I going to respond and be present, okay, right? So it's like I can complexify all these things, but really what it boils down to is how can I remain regulated and present in their big emotions, and show them that I can be a regulated adult and co-regulate with them. And that's how children and adults and people learn to self-regulate, is through co-regulation, being shown repeatedly that like it's safe to be me, it's safe to feel, it's safe to let it out, and that someone can hold space for that. But I do my best definitely every day to be that for them. And sometimes I'm really needing someone to co-regulate with me so that I can, throw my tantrum and get out my big feelings. And, it's definitely, but yeah, it's as simple as it's breathing into it and through it, and holding and embracing what it is as it is. Which is much easier said than done when most of our muscle memory is to avoid and to shut down in some way, or it's like that feeling's too big and scary to sit with it, when in actuality it's so big and scary because we're making it that way and because we're denying it just the space to exist. And
or the muscle memory is to react in a big way, to fight, to stir up some drama, to project something onto someone else.
Deflect, right? We said like the responsibility becomes because like this is not my problem, this is your problem. Like, woo, yeah, and that's still an issue with with parents. Like I live with my parents, so it's very interesting navigating cohabitating with them and our relationship dynamic and the patterns between communication and the energy exchange. And so much of like how they were when I was a child, like they did their absolute best. They're wonderful, beautiful people that I love so dearly. But they didn't have the skills to help to navigate, to be there for me in the ways that I needed. And they still, it's almost like I have to show up and be that for them now, which like there's this little me inside of me that's like, well, why don't you do this for me? Or why are you're my parent? Like, why aren't you the one who's like the bigger person, And it's like, I have to be that. And if all of us could look at each other in general, it's like, oh, someone's older than you, right? Or they're an adult. Oh, they should have these skills. They should know better. Like, why are you being this way? Like, inside of that person is a little kid who doesn't know better. There's so much ignorance and just an inability because they weren't shown, because they didn't. I mean, it takes a while and practice to really be able to integrate and live as that too. Like, you might be shown it sometimes, but like when most of what you know is not that, it's not easy to just like, your baseline isn't that. So so much in this world is people just...
We can't just snap and say, I'm secure now.
Yeah, secure. So secure, healthy attachment to self and other is the goal. But most of us have some attachment, insecure attachment stuff. I
was talking to a friend yesterday about... I was telling her something I'd heard recently that I've been implementing in my relationship with Brandon. That if in a partnership between a man and a woman, if a woman, and it goes the other way too, right? But I'm focusing on one particular direction of the dynamic here. If a woman responds to a man's inner child with love, particularly when he's acting out, but also when he's being silly and playful, right? If a woman responds to a man's inner child with love, that inner child, that little boy, will want to grow up. Like will feel like even safe more so. Will feel like, safe and nourished and inspired to mature. Similar to like emotions want to move, the inner child wants to not like turn into an inner adult per se, but wants to
develop, mature, grow.
Yeah, regulate. You know, like, is there, hopefully we all still keep like the inner child that wants to play like alive, right? We don't try to like mature that child into, now I only wear glasses and carry my briefcase. Yeah. And like part of Brandon's inner child aspect is that he can be very stubborn. And something we were talking about recently is that part of him will show up when he's feeling like I'm asking him to love me in a very particular way. So like I spent a lot of years figuring myself out and figuring out like what I like, and so I'm pretty good about like asserting that, like him being like, this is what I want, you know, and being very specific. And there's this inner child aspect of him that's like, I don't want to do it because you're being so particular, right? Like, and I can appreciate that, especially because he has a very creative side, you know, like, and a very playful side, and so there's this pressure that part of him feels when the instructions are too detailed, right? He feels boxed in.
There's rebellion.
There's rebellion!
Yeah, no, I feel that so much. Like, don't tell me what to do or I won't do it. But if you tell me not to do it, maybe I'll do it then. It's like, and that's that inner child. Yeah, that's very funny and also very real. That, I think we all have degrees of struggling with that, maybe, but...
So then I've been realizing that, okay, when that part of him comes up, right, like I've been really practicing it. It's not like this is like new, but it's definitely a new level with him. Practicing treating that part of him like a little boy, right, and not and instead of getting like upset or mad because I'm not getting what I want, finding it endearing, like, oh, that's sweet, right? and trusting that most of him is a man that really loves me, and actually those inner child aspects really love me too. They're just still, they're not quite developed enough to love me in a less selfish way. Maybe we could say that. And there are mirrors, you know, we talked about some of them earlier before we got on, right? I just, for the audience, there are mirrors the other way. There are parts of me that are also not developed that love Brandon very selfishly. So I was having this conversation with a friend yesterday, and it prompted her to, you know, reflect and recognize how she's, over the past couple of years, dealt with a lot of like resentment and anger towards men, and what she's been practicing over the past few months is specifically with men releasing their inner child, the inner child in the men that she's around, and how much that's helped her heal the resentment and anger that she's felt towards men.
That's very important. To see that inner child and the people especially that you're having the issues most with, because it's like that there's a piece of that person that is the reason that relationship is so stressed and strained often is because of that undeveloped, immature aspect of self, the inner child who didn't receive certain things from their caregivers or their environment, and they're acting out of their wounding, and it's an acting out that's happening, and to choose to consciously see that in the people around us, and ideally, yes, play with that energy. Like, let's play together, right? And also, as like, okay, there's like that inner caregiver adult self, you know, that's very mature and wise and knowing, and how can I hold myself with that energy and also be in that, like, we're almost reparenting each other in ways too at times where it's like, with responsibility, like we're saying too, it's like taking responsibility to show up in that moment and be the conscious, intentional, mature adults amidst people who are not, being in that way. And yeah, it's definitely not easy work though, because it's like, well, what about me? Why am I not being held in that way? Why can't you do that for me? And it's, if we could equally give and exchange that and remember and get outside of ourselves in moments that we feel triggered and like, oh, I'm not getting my needs met, or what's, it's like, let's get curious here. Okay, but why? It's not just about me. That's right. This isn't, there's some, there's something happening here that's maybe outside of my scope of understanding and perspective in this moment. And the only way to expand that is to pause, take a breath, and get curious and question and ask, and show up in a, just slow down, take some space, like recenter, go within and take responsibility for our part, and yeah, ask questions. I think that's the only way we really get to understand people, is by asking the right questions. And I think it's been hard for me sometimes to do that, because I feel like there's a part of me that's afraid of being invasive, or like I don't want to cross boundaries of like, I don't want to poke at something, or I don't want to trigger someone, or I don't want to like, but then there's this part of me that just like unconsciously loves to stir the pot, and just like to really like pop bubbles and just like drop things in that just like kind of have people question their whole reality. Like I don't do it as much, but if the rare times I would go out and, if I drink occasionally, it brings it out of me more, where I'm just more like a little wild and free, and just like, let's be, in that chaotic realm of like, let's just question things and be like, just kind of shift things up in a way that's playful, right? Like I want it to be fun and lighthearted, but sometimes that's like the best way to reach people is in that state of play, because when we're very harsh and serious and intense, and it often will bring up feelings of shame or defensiveness in people. And so if we can play with that energy and just like ask the right questions in a certain way, or just even make it a lighthearted, fun thing, people will be much more open and receptive to whatever it is that's coming through. And
I think they've done studies on that when people are in a state of play, that they're actually more receptive to learning.
Yes, 100%. Yeah. I just saw something today, actually. It was like, you can learn more through an hour of play with someone than like years of briefcase work or whatever. Like, it's like, damn it, I have to get rid of my briefcase. Yeah. Do people use briefcases? I guess I haven't seen one I'm not in the office, I guess, to see the briefcases, but yeah, it's play is so important. Inner child work, just stepping up in that adult wise elder self that's like knows themselves and their own inner knowing and their spirit, their breath, their body, those somatic practices to move energy and feel our feelings, and be able to share our best self with others and the world, and not being hard on ourselves, because I can be very critical. I know we talked about like, sounds like we're a little harsh and critical with ourselves, and I know many people struggle with that, and that's, we don't grow under I mean, some people grow under pressure of that kind, but I mean, to some degree it can be healthy, obviously, to be aware and like hold yourself accountable, but it can sometimes be such a weight to carry, that criticality, is that a...
I love that word.
Yeah, okay, that is a word.
We're using it.
Yeah. Anything can...
It has the red stamp of approval.
Hey, yay! Words, and the power of words, and everything that we speak and we share is shifting everything around us in every moment. Like, I can say anything to anyone, and it totally alters the rest of their day in just one moment of like connection and something that is said. And that's where we're going back full circle to just me writing for me, and like what writing helped me find my voice, and to be so intentional with what I was sharing. And also at the same time, sometimes you just got to rage out and then like burn the paper afterwards. We're like, yes, this is part of my expression, is all of this stuff. And like, do I want to share this with the world? No, like we can share words without intention in a private space also, or just get it out, like word vomit. Sometimes you just got to like get everything out. But in our day-to-day and online and social media, it's like, what am I sharing with the world? And showing up with as much intention with the words that we choose. And also it's interesting because even any word that we use, someone's going to perceive and like take in maybe differently than you even intended, where like things can get lost in translation, or, words are subjective in ways where one word means something to someone and to someone else. So Even so, underneath the words even is an energy behind the words. So what energy am I sharing? Where am I speaking from my mind or my heart? Can we integrate the mind and the heart together? And ideally, like, to be as heart-centered as possible, I feel is like so important, to be in a place of love for ourselves and for others. And that's what the parent, a parent just unconditionally loves their child, and that child unconditionally loves that parent. It's like there's that unconditional love that if we live as that and embody that as much as possible, that is so healing for ourselves and for others to experience. And I think if I hadn't had children, I'd still get to that place. I feel like I've always been a very like caring person, but through having children, it activated something in me. It's like I'm a mother now. Like I'm not just a mother to my children. I feel like I naturally embody like this motherly energy. I just want to share and be and show up as like, just want to like be just, yeah, make people feel safe, right? Like how can we make each other feel safe and heard and loved? And that's my goal every day with my kids. I want them to feel like what they're saying matters, that they matter, that they feel respected and understood and nurtured, and that they get to exist and be what they are without like they're trying to be manipulated or changed or projected onto of what they should be or what they will become. It's like just giving that freedom and space for them to develop and grow and mature in their own way on their own path, which you do need like a safe container to keep in that flow kind of chaos. It's like if they were in the backyard without a fence, there's the risk that they could run off somewhere they're not supposed to go, but like they have free range to run around, but like having the boundaries to play within is so important. So it's like to have in the boundaries, right? So it's like being able to have energetic boundaries, spoken boundaries with people that, we love and care about, that we want to maintain a healthy relationship with. With the children first and foremost, and then also, any relationships, like boundaries are key. So important. And
I love what you're talking about with your kids. I'm not a parent yet, so there's probably more conversation about this in your space. But in the like personal development space at large, I see a lot of conversation about people talking about their inner children, how they didn't get what they needed growing up, etc. Now they're doing this reparenting work. And what I hear you describing is how to have loving relationships with children in such a way that gives them a blueprint of how to create a life where they feel valued, where they feel special, where they have a voice, where they choose relationships that mimic the kind of love that you're showing them is possible, right? So that instead of Eden and Eli getting to a point where they're like, I'm 35 and I keep dating women who tell me I'm no good and stifle me and yada yada yada, right? It's like they're not going to do that because they had a mother figure in their life who loved them, who told them that all of them is okay and acceptable and beautiful. And so that's what they're going to be primed to look for,
and not settle for anything less than that feeling, and that sets the tone for what you allow in your life. And so many of us weren't shown that, and so we end up allowing and accepting certain behavior and relationships that are not what we deserve because we weren't shown anything that much better, or maybe we were shown worse. So we're like, oh, in comparison, this is actually better, but in reality, it's still not nourishing or what we would want. And it's almost easier to stay in that dynamic than to step into the unknown of what's on the other side. It's that's why so many people stay in these abusive relationships, because it's terrifying to imagine a life outside of that dynamic and realm, which is so familiar. It's like you're so conditioned and to accept that treatment and behavior in life that to separate from that is you almost can't imagine it. It's like, what's on the other side? What do I do? How do I? Because it's going to be painful. And no matter what life or path you choose, like there's going to be pains and struggles, and there's going to be, pros and benefits. I mean, it seems humans naturally.
It's like someone who lives in whatever level, right? But the same house, the same town, the same state, the same country, whatever level it is, someone who lives in the same their whole life, it becomes increasingly harder for them to imagine stepping outside of that. Because whether they're aware of it or not, the inevitable like truth there is, I don't know who I am outside of this.
Yeah, and it's comfortable even though it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's like, this doesn't feel like you like outgrow the pot, but it's almost like, well, where do I go next? What's next? What do I do?
I'll just keep my root system small.
Yeah, and then the plant can't keep growing. It stays, where it is, and I think it's but it doesn't have to be that way, and it just takes those first steps of like doing something different, and it's just little things every day. It's having a practice where you wake up in the morning and you choose to drink a glass of water and do a stretch and do a little breathing practice and write down, it's just little things every day build up to the big choices. But you can't just, you can, I guess, make a leap and jump from one thing to another. But I saw this metaphor the other day about how love can be so scary and triggering and uncomfortable for people, and they haven't experienced like real genuine, like your parent might love you, but they might not show it in actual acts of like consistency and grounded ways that you felt loved. But like a child who isn't fed and is only fed like a small amount, their stomach is almost like accustomed to that size and that amount of food. And then when someone offers them a plate of like all these different foods and it's so full and there's so much there, the child will become overwhelmed with all that's on that plate, and they won't even eat it all because it's too much for them to handle, that their stomach can't even digest it. And so it's not digestible. And so it's almost like little things day by day, and even that self-love practice of being able to give yourself that love, right? Where it's like, I have to reparent myself and give my inner child that love that I didn't get growing up. Because it can be, and so there's some people who run from love, or with attachment styles, there's like avoidant attachment, anxious attachment, and they can get a little more complicated than just that. Anxious avoidant, yeah. And then there's like a secure, ideally, and then there's like fearful avoidant. There's different subcategories in that, but people act out of feeling like their baseline or threshold is overwhelmed, or it's like, this is too much for me to handle and process. Like if someone's sharing so much love with someone in connection, it might actually terrify and create fear because it's so much that they haven't experienced. Like back to the metaphor of like the plate of food is so abundant and there's so much there, but it's too much for them to handle. And so the instinct will be to run or disconnect because it's just too much to process. So it's almost like learning, someone's attachment style and their past and their history and what made them who they are, so you can learn to love them better, which might be little bits of love here and there and little bits of connection that kind of warm up to them being able to receive, so much more than just, whatever they had in the past and whatever they're available to receiving now. It's like you have to stretch and strengthen to get to a certain, like a yoga pose, it's like you can't just jump right into that really that pose. You gotta like work your way into it with anything. There's like you gotta prime yourself for it. So
I've definitely noticed just in my like self-care routine since I started doing that oh gosh, like I guess like basically 7-8 years ago now, that if I like, it's not sustainable to like make a lot of big changes at once. Or rarely for me do those stick. That used to be my MO, was that I would do a lot of big changes really fast and then I'd burn out, and then it becomes this pendulum swing of like, I'm doing really great, and then like, oh no, the world is crashing and burning, and then like swinging back to, regrouping, oh, I'm doing really great again, can't maintain, the world's crashing and burning, right? And what I saw over time was I actually have gotten further. I found a middle path in just in focusing on just doing a little bit, letting it organically change. One of the first life coaches I had, I remember him telling me that he would only ever run for as long as he wanted to run. He would only ever meditate for as long as he wanted to meditate. And that stuck with me like 7 years later, and I've continued to integrate it because it is such a powerful practice. I don't want whatever practice I'm choosing to feel like a burden, right? I don't want to feel like burdened by these things that are supposed to be helping me. So if I stretch myself too far, if I try to go into airplane when I'm, you know, not even ready to stand on one leg,
hurt yourself.
Hurt myself, yeah. And then I'm like, fuck this, I don't want to do yoga.
Yeah.
You know? But if I'm like, okay, my goal is literally, like, if I was going to start running again, which I don't really want to, but we'll see. Maybe one day. I ran a 6K once. That sounds like a good... I'll let it go.
Yeah, not a runner myself. That's rollerblading. I will glide on the ground, but running, the impact is so intense on the body. I just feel like I... Totally. But yeah, I love gliding on. But yeah,
let's use rollerblading. So if someone was like, I could see myself rollerblading, like I have a pair in the closet, you know, like I haven't gone out in a while, and maybe they keep. I know so many people who they'll envision like, I'm gonna go out and rollerblade, you know, for 10 minutes 3 times a week, and they get so caught up in like, I can't even like go outside, you know, or like in the morning before, I can't even wake up early enough to like do the thing, right? And then they start to create this negative association with this habit before they've even done any of the habit, right? So then it's like, okay, let's back up. And what if instead the goal was you just get up 10 minutes earlier, right? Like that's the only goal. You can do whatever you want. You can lay in bed for all 10 minutes if you want, but that's literally the only goal, is just wake up and be awake 10 minutes earlier, right? And then start showing yourself you can do it, right? I can get up 10 minutes earlier, right? Instead of this, my goal is to go do this brand new practice. I'm going to do it like the way that I imagine doing it perfectly right away. And now I'm going to like criticize myself as I fail to do that over and over and over. Just start with the first thing.
Start small. Yeah. Start with somewhere. Start somewhere.
Anything, whatever level you need to break it down to make it a win. Right?
Yes, and also I think we expect things to be easy right away too, where it's like it takes that muscle memory. Where like with rollerblading, especially, like it's not gonna. You gotta get comfortable on those wheels. Like it takes a while to get your balance right, and you're gonna fall a few times before you master that. You know, so. I think that people get defeated because it's like
kind of safeguard, like some
right.
pads.
Yes. There you go. This is a great metaphor for life. Where there's a way to do things that is you're pacing yourself and doing things when you're inspired too. Or like coming from a place of like, I want to do this. I'm inspired to do it. Like what lights me up? What feels good for me? And flowing with that and not making it this like this is your chores list and you have to do this to be feel better and love yourself more. It's like, no, like what
how's that gonna make me feel better?
Yeah, like, okay, dad, like get off my back. Like it's like it feels like that like masculine pressure from the outside world of like performing in a certain way. And I think that there's a lot of wounding there with like the fatherly energy that like means well. It wants you to do better.
My
but
love
it's also
is conditional on
your performance. Yes.
Yeah.
Oof.
Which and truth be told, when I was first starting like an intentional self-care journey, I had an app where it was like called Habit Tracker, and it was like, and I kept track of how many times a week I ran, how many times a week I meditated, how many times I did yoga, and I got a lot of positive reinforcement, a lot of dopamine from that. When I would accomplish, when I got to the end of the week and all my habits were checked off.
Yes, that's a good feeling. Yeah,
so good, right? And if you the proverbial listener, you know, can keep that up and it feels good for you, that's great, awesome.
Structure can be good for some, like having that. Yeah,
absolutely. And if you find yourself burning out at some point, like that's not a big surprise. You know, we all also have a feminine side of us that wants free flow, that wants to move intuitively, instinctually, that doesn't want to be constrained by a plan, by some preset, you know, schedule, right? So whether that becomes apparent through you just start feeling more tired, like that resistance can manifest in a lot of different ways. Illness, fatigue, irritability, resentment, right, towards the schedule, even if it's been helping you feel good. it's okay to swing to the other side and be like, you know what, I'm just gonna not do this for a week and see how that goes.
Yeah. It's listening to the needs of the moment, listening to your body, and getting outside of the pressures of performance, of what you should be doing, who I should be, how you know, what is it that, and having such strict rules for yourself. Like, yes, rules and guidelines and structure can be so helpful and needed and good, but if it feels like there's this tension or constriction, then maybe let flow, and finding the balance between the two, though, really, because there is a matter of discipline that needs to be withheld for anything to really grow, and also having grace and patience and forgiveness or just like a sense of surrender, or like that free flow, just like let it be, it is what it is, you know. And those two really need each other, though, and that's really the masculine and feminine kind of energies that are beyond gender. It's like it's an energy, it's within all of us in different ways at different times. And I think that to be able to attune to those different energy dynamics within ourselves and see them in the world and find like harmony between them, especially when so much of the world you see conflict between these two different energies as if they're opposite and against each other, but really they need each other. They like, there's that balance, that and that dance that happens with them, and one without the other, it would be pretty they wouldn't be complete. They would not be as rich and beautiful. It would, I mean, it's in its own standing alone, it is still like whatever it is what it is. But when things complement each other and bring each other, they can what's the word, like just complimenting, I guess, or
they enhance.
Yes, that's the word I was looking for. Yes,
I'm actually
amplify, or like it's like
amplify,
like the up. Yeah, supporting. If you can see my hand movements, yes, but
someone get a camera in here.
Yeah. Really though.
Only audio, maybe.
No, I actually kind of like the only audio. I feel like less of a pressure to when there's cameras involved. It feels like, I don't know. It's, you know, when you glitch up when someone's taking a picture of you, or it's like, oh, can someone just get a candid photo of me feeling free? And it's like, oh, here's a photo of you. I'm like, like, don't look at me. I don't know. Like, what's up with that? Like, to be observed and witnessed is such a strange thing sometimes. I'm like, just don't look at me. Like, it's, and just even like having conversations with people, sometimes I feel like safer without being in the presence of someone else. Like if I'm on a phone call, I feel like I can dive deeper in sometimes. And if like I know someone can see me and I'm seeing them, it's like, I don't know what's up with that. But I don't know. It's more intimacy, I guess. And sometimes the more intimacy is, you know, but sometimes it's just, you know, I don't know.
Cool.
Yeah, cool.
The paradox. I want to be close to you, but stay away from me.
Let me subconsciously push you away or sabotage things somehow, just because that's a little safer than being close. Because when someone's close, they can see your other parts that weren't held and loved in the past. So why would anyone hold and love them now? But like people do, like, to really know someone is to know all of them, and it's so rewarding when you can like see someone in their lowest, most messy parts and still love them, and like to feel loved by someone in those after they've seen you in this rageful, intense place, or to be like, you know, a puddle of goo and guts and blood and tears, you know. It's like, you love me still? Like, it's like, whoa, that's really transformative, you know, when you haven't experienced that. Most of us, I mean, some people had some really stable, wonderful caregivers that were there through a lot, but most people had really well-intentioned adults who just didn't know how to fully hold space and be present. And to experience that as an adult is like, oh, it's the best thing ever. It's amazing. And more of that for all of us, to really be seen and loved and held. And and really though, it's like to be able to do that for ourselves first and foremost is the goal. And that's what I think with like self-care, self-love, it's like, how can I see myself in my shadow aspects, in these parts that I don't really want more of, but like I know are there? Like, how can I hold space for and embrace as much as I can and understand and just learn to love in some way. Like, if once we do that for ourselves, we can really truly do that for someone else, which makes room for them to do it for us, where it's like it if we can't even do it for ourselves, it's really hard to give that. And I think that's a lot of relationship issues, is people's inability to really really be there and hold space for their own things, and then projecting and putting on so much on someone else to do it for them, and expecting more than someone can even give, because they don't have the capacity or the ability or the skill set to know how to navigate these big things. It takes like really getting educated and a practice to somatically like find peace in the body, so that when we do get triggered by intense emotions, we don't react out of them, that we can like move through things in a way that creates cohesion and peace and harmony, and not more conflict and running from the scene. And like, yes, maybe we might need to step back and take a break and pause and breathe, but not like completely fleeing altogether emotionally and energetically and physically, where it's like, all right, I'm out, tapped out. Like, how can we take space and feel our feelings and come back to things in a way that is intentional? Which attachment styles has helped me a lot understand myself and others, and why people do what they do, and how they cope the best they can, and the way they know how to, where like avoidant attachment, someone who is uncomfortable with feelings and their threshold is very low, so they'll cope on their own as an individual, and need more time and space to process their emotions, and because most of their life they didn't have a safe place or caregiver to connect with in those emotions, and so it's really scary to try to share their feelings and life with someone intimately and emotionally. And then with an anxious attachment, it's a similar core wound, although the anxious person copes differently in that they reach and they grab anxiously from someone else to supply them the comfort and soothing that they need, which needs to be accessed as an individual on their own, for it to be sustainable. It's nice to co-regulate, right? Like, we need each other, but also if one can't feel and regulate their own emotions and they're just reaching and grabbing and needing from someone else, it creates a really unhealthy dynamic. And then the anxious is going to trigger the avoidancy in someone, and then the avoidancy is going to trigger the anxiety. So that's where it's like one person has to break the cycle and find that inner security within themselves, so that they can kind of shift the dynamic with the other person that is the opposite in ways. It's like, that's such a common, I've done so much research about anxious avoidance. It's like, oh my gosh, so many people are experiencing this in their relationships, and there's solutions and shifts, and it's self accountability, responsibility, and vulnerable, like authentic, having vulnerable conversations and showing up authentically and sharing, hey, like, I'm feeling this way, this is deep, gooey stuff in here that it's patience with each other in that, because it's not easy work to like, here, just it's
here's messy. A gaping wound.
Yeah. It's a little infected right now too. Like, I need this, and then to cleanse the infected wound is freaking painful. It's like, oof. It can really hurt. But like, that's where the more our capacity to feel pain are higher, the more that we can feel connection and love, and the heights of joy and beauty, and see, we got to go into those places to really fully experience it all, and our threshold expands, and
yeah, so good. Your voice is very open.
Yay. It feels good when I can be in that flow state, and it's not always there. I can often feel restricted, and I constrict myself even, where it's like, ooh, I am overthinking and in my head so much. But when I can speak from my heart and be in that clear state of like, oh yeah, I know what I'm saying, like, this is being received. I have things inside of me of value, like I have,
you do.
Because golly, I sometimes I can forget, it's easier, it feels easier to hide away sometimes, and then I get out and it's like, oh whoa, like I like being out of my bubble, but there's safety in my bubble too. And I don't know if you heard about, like, with our voices being like what we talk about, our breath being like something for healing, or just like to ground and soothe ourselves, but our voices too, to like tone, like humming, the vagus nerve, like hearing our own voice speak and making certain sounds can really help like heal our body and like ground into ourselves. And that's a good practice too, just like getting comfortable with your own voice in private, and that helps strengthen that muscle to share with others also.
It's been so healing for me to practice listening to myself on a recording over the past few years. Watching myself too, but especially hearing myself. Like a few years ago, I mean, most of my life I would avoid listening to myself on a recording because it sounded so differently listening to the playback than like listening to myself live. And the more that I listen, this is really weird. I would love to know what the neuroscience is on this. The more I listen to myself, the more similar, like the voices merged. So now when I listen to a recording of myself, it sounds very similar to how I sound to myself live.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had to like, I wonder what that's about. But yeah, I think that's like when you hear most people, like they hear their voice back on a recording, it's like, oh, whoa, what? Like this is not... Because I definitely have felt, I'm so critical of myself too, where I'll hear my voice, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I sound like that? Like I don't know if I like that. Like what is that? But yeah, it's interesting. We're perceived often so different and heard different than we hear and see ourselves. I was just talking with someone too about even our body image, like looking in the mirror, like how you see yourself is not, people don't see the same thing you see when you look in your, you know, your camera or the mirror. It's just, it's flipped and it's even like you don't really get to see yourself like in your emotion or how you emote things like with your facial expressions and unless it's like a video recording, of course, which is always like fun to see, where I'm like, whoa, that's what I look like when I talk and I just like am myself. Like it's such a cool experience to get outside of yourself and perceive yourself as an outsider, but in a loving way, right? Like let's not be critical, like, oh, my voice sounds weird. It's like, okay, well,
your live videos on Facebook are awesome.
No, thank you.
You're welcome.
That's been a really helpful thing in my process of getting comfortable in my skin and sharing myself. But like it's from afar even, right? I'm on my phone screen. I'm not doing it in person. Like I'm not in front of an audience, so it's different. I'll
Steps.
you know, yeah, right.
Steps.
But yeah, that's been going on live on Facebook has been definitely strengthened that muscle memory to show up as myself and share things in flow. Where
you're so authentic. That's what what you talk about is thought provoking always, both in your post and your videos. And the thing that I enjoy most by far is just you're so genuine, like always, like in any way that I see you, Ellie, you are so genuine. Yeah.
No, thank you for seeing that and acknowledging that. It's like, what else do I do? I don't know. This is what. And I think I've learned to embrace that about myself. I think for a while I felt kind of like I was alien or weird for being so like open and wanting to connect. Like it was kind of like, well, what's like I just but then hearing more feedback from people, appreciation, and like people being, you know, expressing what they're receiving from me, it's like, oh, like this is actually welcome. Like people like me being me. But for a long time, I had this like insecurity that I was being too much, you know, or it was like, oh, she's too out there. She's too far out. She's too deep. Like, stop thinking so much. Stop feeling so much. And, you know, because my direct reality wasn't as welcoming to a lot of that. You know, not that was just all my parents. And my parents are definitely, as much as they could be, like supportive and loving in ways. But I think that there are parts of me they didn't understand. And it was out of it more so just like maybe in school, like my environments with... you know, growing up in the children that I, you know, it was just kids being kids. And I don't know, I think I had some unconscious beliefs about myself being so different than everyone and feeling so strange about myself, I guess. And so over time, the past few years especially, the more that I've come out and shared myself and get positive feedback and remember that like, oh, people actually like, you know, like I was welcome. Yeah. And, but yeah, thank you. I appreciate you saying that. I don't know what else to be but myself, you know. It's like, okay, I can be myself. I can share me, and yeah, it's received. It feels good to hear that. Thank you.
I feel like I'm not exactly sure what the connection is here, but I feel like it's related that you're also really good at being goofy, like easily, organically, like you just like you'll dip into moments of being like silly, goofy, funny, totally out of the box, like just like very spontaneously. And sometimes it's like a deep dive, sometimes it's just a few little dips, but it seems at least like really easy for you. And I feel like that's that echoes, at least it leaves me with this impression, a really deep impression of you being really comfortable with yourself. Or at least having, like, learned to, I mean, that's, like, a huge growing edge for me, is learning to navigate, like, to integrate more lightness and humor into my expression, especially because I do tend to run really deep. And so Brandon has taught me a lot about, you know, being more bouncy, right? And then people tend to receive that better because while I don't tend to feel, like, bogged down by, like, running on a really deep track for a while, a lot of people do. And so just being able to offer more, like, versatility in my tone has helped my relationships a lot. And it's something I've always loved about you, that you seem to bounce really easily.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I don't know how, if I've always been this way or, like, what, but yeah, I definitely let playful I love to play and I want to connect. And I think that I've learned somehow over time or whatever that's how you act, like, to play, where we go full circle with the inner child. It's like, and I think that through becoming a mother and having a child, that, like, brought me back into that state. Like, if I'm feeling wherever, like, I'm anchored into the present moment of this goofy little baby toddling around, or learning how to bloop, 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 like, saying, learning how to talk, and, like, just being goofy, like, that definitely, I think I've always been, for the most part, very, like, playful and kind of, like, you know, if you know my parents too, they're both very, they're just it's funny people, like, the way they say things, the quirks, the mannerisms. It's like I definitely absorbed a lot of that from them, because I look at them and I see them as people that will come into the world. They know how to connect with people. They're very charismatic, and just kind of their sense of humor is great. Like, it's like I picked up definitely on a lot of that from them, and I also think becoming a parent and being around children has definitely kept me in that playful state, because I'm like, I gotta interact and play with them, and it's so. Yeah, and for whatever reason too, like, I don't think I've done it really here much, but, like, I have accents that will just literally, like, I don't think about it before I do it, but all of a sudden I'm talking with a country accent, or, like, I'm just, like, I have this mad scientist voice that will come out. I'm like, where does that come from? Like, I don't know how that happens, but it just, like, yeah, just, like, I don't plan the things I say before I say them often. They just, like, happen. And yeah, I don't know why I am the way I am, but I do and I don't, right? It's like there's a lot of external factors, and there's also just, I guess, me and my spirit wanting to connect and play. And I do, I'm realizing that, like, so many topics, like, that's why people like comedy so much, is because you can talk about these really heavy, intense things, but in a way where we're going to be laughing about it, you know? Yeah. It's like, it's to lighten the thing, because not many people want to just sit and, you know, feel, and, like, cry and, you know, all the things. Like, some people, yeah, there's a time and place for, you know, purging from a combo ceremony or something, where you're just, like, in a deep dark depths of, like, bleh, like, but also I think that so much of the healing happens most in being accessing that childlike playful state, and the curiosity and questioning, and, like, not having it be so rigid and set a certain way. Like, let's play with this. And yeah, thank you for acknowledging that, though. It's cool to hear the reflection of what you perceive in me. It's cool. So
yeah, you make being weird cool, and I like that.
Yay! Yes, and that's what I mean. Like, it's funny because, yeah, when you're growing up, it was like, oh, the weird one is, like, you feel like an outcast, and as you get older, it's actually, the weirder you are, it's almost cooler. Like, at least with, like, style and stuff too. It's like the more strange you appear and come out into the world, the more people, like, feel safe around you almost, and so
especially when it's real, when it's authentic.
Yeah, not just a performance or just, like, a fashion statement or something, because it's easy to mask or present a certain way just to get approval to and be a part of a group or whatever. But when it's, to have it be, like, coming from a genuine place within is definitely ideal. And thank you.
And that has turned into, like, more of a cool thing. Yeah.
Yes, weird is cool. It's because what is normal? Like, when I see things where it's like, normalize blank, normalize this, I'm like, no, normalize nothing. Like, what is normal though? Actually, like, what? Like, everyone can be, not everyone. I work on my language of, you know, what I'm because not many people, society can be very, like, you know, rigid in what they think is what things should be, or they have been, or what's accepted, or just, like, they want to be accepted by a group or a whole, right? So I'm going to perform this certain way so that people like me. But if it's not genuine, then those are not your people. Where if you're no more performing. We gotta just take off our masks and like, and even I've read stuff with like neurodivergency where, you know, learning how to mask to, you know, that masking and stuff. And I feel like but then
to be able to fit in better in a workplace, I imagine, especially.
And see, my workplace environments that I've experienced were not asking that of me at all. Like, I worked at Trader Joe's for 5 years, and that was like, I got to be just like, I was working in a store where my managers were wearing Hawaiian shirts and they were my mates, you know, and then I had my captain of the store and like, who's the boss man of it all, but like, come on. Like, it was like, and the environment there and the community and just the way, the kind of ethics and morale of like, Kaizen was a thing where Kaizen means like just doing a little bit better every day. Like that was kind of the motto of like, you know, every day we were a crew. Like this was my crew, my family of like running the ship of the grocery store world. Like, so that job really helped me come into myself more so too, honestly. That was something that like I felt welcome to be. But before that, like I hadn't had a whole lot of environments I felt super welcome to be that, you know, and so that was a really great experience that helped me come deeper into that. And but then after that I worked I had a few other jobs, but now I do cleaning and organizing and I'm in people's homes, so I'm not interacting with other people much, so I really do miss like being out in the world and interacting with others more. But even still, it's like I'm not having to perform for a corporate job or, you know, to play within a certain box. Like I'm like, I don't know how, there's no way, I don't know how I would do that. Like I would come in there and it would just be chaos probably, or just, I don't know. It was, yeah. So,
that's why I got out of childcare and behavioral therapy. Because I felt like, well, it helped keep me in touch with like parts of my playful side. I also felt like there were pretty like rigid parameters for still rigid parameters for like how to be.
I can see that.
For how to be. Yeah. That, and it was difficult to feel like the programs that the school or the company or the therapist were wanting to like feed to the children. It was difficult to feel like so not aligned with aspects of them.
Yeah.
It was cool to reflect when you were talking about how being a mom has helped like keep that playful spirit alive in you. It's really been like the past 5, 6 or so years that has been prior to that, I was around children a lot, like very regularly. Not a mom, but whether it was like a community I was in or the work that I was doing, I was around children almost every day. But the past like 5 or 6 years it's been very different. That has dropped off significantly, largely because I moved into other industries. Yeah. And that has been the part of my life that has felt most like serious per se. Like even though like it hasn't been like the darkest part of my life, it's been the part of my life where it's been like easiest for me to get like overly serious. Yeah More reasons for like, and we could go the other way with it, but like there's so many reasons for like mixed age communities, right? Like for us to spend time around like people of all ages, children, young adults, middle-aged adults, older adults, like elderly people, like growing up in a tribe.
Yes.
We were exposed to all these different stages of life and the strengths and weaknesses that everyone had.
More perspective and more to learn from each other. And everyone's grouped together by age, and it's so restrictive in ways. Because I saw something that was like this elderly home was connected to this daycare, and it was so sweet. Aww. Seeing like they would do times where the children would come over there, but it was so amazing to watch like what the children brought into the elderly's life, and then also what the elders were there to show the children and how they like needed each other. And you don't see much of that. I mean, like, of course you have grandparents that have their grandchildren, but to
sometimes
not even though it's like it's but we the lacking the village, right? And that's a big core wound that, whether people realize it or not, is a big issue with the so you can only do so much self-care to where you get a stopping point where like, well, I need community, I need a village, I need others to like. Self-care without focus on a group very much lacking. And it's not like not, there's no purpose if it's just that, but I mean, you can only get so far. But yeah, we need each other. Like we originally were, tight-knit little groups and villages and tribes. And so we have to create that though in modern day, because it's not naturally just there. Like we're in these bubbles, so far from each other often, and we have to make the time allotted to get together when we used to just live in community and have each something that we offered and shared and work together for a common goal. So if we can create that intentionally in whatever ways we can nowadays, like that kind of helps fill that, I'll say it is kind of a void of not having that village and the exposure to different people, different ages, different walks of life, different skill sets. We typically, you have your work environment and you have your friends, and there's a like attracts like similarity thing there, where it's like, but we learned through exposure to diversity and differences, and it's a need too. I think not just like I want this. It's like, no, I think we actually like, we might not know we even need it, because it's like often when we don't, it's like when we go without something for so long, it's like, oh, well, I don't even know what that is, or I don't want or need that because it's just so foreign. But it's like somewhere in our blood or in our core, it's like that desire for something more, a yearning, a longing. So as much as we can, like listening to those longings and yearnings that we have, and trying to work towards a life that is fulfilling and inspiring and has purpose and meaning, that we're contributing to something bigger than ourselves, to a whole, to a larger thing, which can be just even the planet as a whole. Like, wow, I'm a part of this larger family and community. Like, what am I doing to offer something and be of service to others around me, and to anything really is.
And to come full circle, that desire, that lacking, often arises through some kind of emotion, right? A repeated sense of feeling frustrated, a pattern of feeling afraid, a pattern of feeling annoyed, a pattern of feeling lonely,
let down or disappointed or frustrated, whatever.
I mean, if you're feeling fulfilled and ecstatic about your life, don't listen to me and Ellie, I mean, do, but probably don't need it as much. You won't necessarily benefit from it as much if your life's already perfect.
Which I don't know. Is that a thing? Do people have that? But
I think people move on. My experience is that I move on to bigger challenges. Right? It's not that my life becomes stress. Like I no longer have the goal to create a stress-free life. I have the goal to be able to manage stress in a healthier way, so that I can expand the playing field that I'm on. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So. Yeah. No, I was kind of joking there.
Only kind. You weren't fully. Are you sure you were joking? I don't know.
All jokes are but half jokes.
Well, that's the best part with humor and comedy, is sometimes I feel like there is so much truth in this, and also it is, don't take it seriously. Where it's like, sometimes I don't even know if I'm kidding or not, which is maybe problematic, but I'm like, did I really, whoa, what is that? Because there is truth in every joke, and then there's also, it's a joke. It can be just, it's not, don't take it so seriously, right? It's like, but it's very serious, you guys. It's dire that you love yourself and you do something more with your life. But honestly though, in a way, it's just, let's have fun with life. Let's play with ourselves and each other, and just
because why wouldn't you want to?
Yeah, what are you, gotta stick up your butt or something? Gotta get that out of there. It's, and I'm actually, that's actually not funny, because what if you do that, that's really, you need some professional, help.
Maybe they like anal play.
Yeah. Well, a stick is dangerous, though, because that's not, that could break and get stuck up there. No, maybe not with a stick. If you're gonna do that, whatever, I respect whatever floats your boat, but Yeah.
Can you
anyways.
imagine someone going into an ER?
Oh my god. No, I'm sure people have seen. We don't even. Yeah. No, there's horrendous people.
I have a stick up my ass.
How did it get up there? Like what? Like I don't know. I just. Oh jeez. Okay, yeah.
Jeez, do you watch Rick and Morty?
I used to watch Rick and Morty, but I haven't seen it in a while. But yeah, no, that's some good funny stuff there. I love how brash and kind of off color and crude it is. Also though, lately it's like I almost don't like the crude stuff as much. I used to be like in high school, I used to watch South Park like a lot. Like people would hear that and they'd be like,
too much for me.
No, it is. And I remember people at the time too be like, Ellie, you watch South Park? They had this idea I was this wholesome, sweet, just innocent. I'm like, no, I really like South Park. And I'm like, look back, I would watch it now and it's like, oh dear God, like I cannot stomach this anymore. Like I get kind of triggered sometimes by things that, I wish I thought, like there's certain humor even that I'm like, this is not funny to me. Like this actually is too real to be joking about, right? Where there's things that I'm like, okay, we crossed a boundary and limit there, right? And that's my threshold at that moment. Some people, they think it's funny, laugh at it, whatever, but I don't know. So I'm not here to judge anyone's things, but yeah, not into South Park anymore. Rick and Morty is it's funny still, but even some of that I'm like, oh my god, oh gosh, like this is like very crude, but it is funny. I do appreciate some good stuff. Interdimensional Cable one, I like that one a lot. Yeah, there's some good stuff in there.
What were we watching? We were watching something the other day and we were watching something the other day, and we were watching Archer. And
I've never seen Archer. What is it? It sounds familiar, actually. I feel like I've heard.
I've watched. They have a lot more seasons now that I haven't watched like the 5 newest seasons, but I watched like the first 7 seasons. Used to find them hilarious. Still think it's funny, but there are some parts where I'm like, oh my gosh, like cringe. Yeah, and it's interesting to watch and be like, wow, I used to like think this was so funny.
What changed?
You
like
know?
what happened?
Yeah, right.
Like did I grow? My briefcase came.
Damn it.
No, but what? I wonder why that happens though. Really though, is it a maturity thing? Is it like a? I don't. Yeah, I wonder why.
I feel like part of it for me is that it just is not keeping my attention as much. Like generally, TV keeps my attention less and less. I feel like, as opposed to like in the past where I genuinely enjoyed watching TV more, or I was just so stoned that, that was the thing to do.
If you weren't stoned, maybe it wouldn't have been as entertaining.
Right, yeah, no, for real. Yeah.
Yeah, I've only gotten into a few shows, like pretty, but yeah, it's interesting. The stuff I go for is typically more heady and kind of intense, honestly. Like the OA, have you seen that one? That one's very like cerebral and kind of metaphysical. And then like Stranger Things, which is really a balance of like lighthearted and sweet with the characters, but like an intense kind of concept or like the storyline. And Fleabag, have you ever heard? Fleabag's a funny one. That's actually really also kind of crude and brash. And when I first watched it, I was triggered by it, and then I was like, okay, I need to sit with this. Let's like lean into the discomfort, right? Like what is here for me? And so I watched all of it. There's 2 seasons, and I really needed it. I was like, wow, that was like some medicine right there that I needed to sit with and process with this character that at first I was like, I do not like her at all. And then as time went on, I was like, I see a lot of myself in her. I was like, maybe that's why I didn't. I was like, it's like, ooh, I feel her and I'm having more empathy and I understand her more, and which helped me process my own life. It's great when shows can kind of like go within like parts of yourself, or like there's like archetypes and symbols that like you can relate to, or there's some sort of story that like does something inside of your brain and being. That's what I go for with shows. I feel like I have to feel like there's something deeper going on there.
Have you watched Midnight Gospel?
I've seen the episode where about death, where he talks with his mom. I've only seen that one actually, but that was really profound. I have been recommended that from some people. But yeah, that episode with his mom is really profound. That was a good one. Gosh, what else? There's a show called The Great. Have you heard of that? That was really good. The balance of like chaos and humor, and also depth and like meaning, like that is it, right? That's so like good. That's all that it's so good. But yeah, that's the shows that come up right now that I think of that. But yeah, I don't watch much TV. I feel like it has to really call called to me, and then I really like dive in though. I like binge watch something once with books too. It's like I haven't been reading book, but graphic novels, because I don't feel like sitting through a whole book is a lot of time that goes into that and attention. But with graphic novels, it's so much more entertaining and stimulating because there's the art that you're looking at. So man, I've probably read like 8 graphic novels in the past like month or two. Like I've just go to the library that got but yeah, really it's a mixture of art, you know, for the brain to look at, and then also the story that you get to follow. And The Alchemist, have you ever read that book? That's a wonderful book, but I found a graphic novel version of it. What? That was incredible. And I haven't read that in years, but that brought it to life in a whole new way, which was nice. Cool. But yeah, graphic novels, go to your local library, see what they got. It's a fun way, because books are intimidating for me at this point. They're so, it's an investment of time, and with having kids and commitment. Stuff, I'm just like, I feel like my brain is... Honestly, I haven't been reading since having children really much. Like, I'll read, like, short poetry books, like Young Pueblo, or I don't know how to, Y-U-N-G. He has some really good stuff. I've read a couple of his books, and I just like poetry I can do because it's more digestible, I guess. But there are more frequent stopping points. Yes. Yeah, I like that. But, yeah, the arts and being able to... listen to other stories or take in other perspectives and experiences is such a fun thing to do. I love, it's good stuff, you know. So humans and what they create. I love humans and the art that they make. It's like we have the capacity and potential to do so much with our hands and our minds and our voices and our choices, and every day is the blank canvas. Like, we can create anything, and any day we're all artists, and we got to get rid of that blockage so many of us have for our creativity, because when you're a kid and you weren't nurtured in your creativity, it's hard as an adult. Well, I shouldn't say it's hard. It is a little more challenging as an adult to unlock that and freely express it when you're like, oh, this isn't good enough, or but it's like just doing it. The act of creating is more important than the result. Like just getting things out, playing with the energies within you, and just making something. It doesn't need to look a certain way, but just to like explore the inner world through the different tools and mediums outside of you is so important. That's like my self-care, like my practice. I feel like my therapy most is creativity and art, and like I haven't been writing as much. I feel like I've been more in like the visual arts with paint and collaging and sketching, and and that's a fun way to just play, right? And going back to play, like using different mediums to explore, and you know, it doesn't need to be any particular thing or way. It's just the act of doing it. And art therapy is it's a thing. That's a therapy. There's so many forms of therapy and things that help with connecting with yourself and coming out of yourself. And
on that note, as we wrap up the first half of our conversation, our public episode, how can people connect with you, get your book? Are there other resources that you have to share with people? Do you sell your paintings? So give us all the deets.
Okay. I'm active on Instagram and Facebook. There I have like link trees, like link information to my website, where I have a link to my book, which is self-published on Amazon. I'm not selling. I do have like a art gallery of my paintings and my photography on my website. I have not really sold. I've sold a couple paintings, but I haven't done much of selling my art. That's like something I do want to do more of, or figure out prints or something. But that's a new uncharted territory I'm learning to navigate. I love those words. But that is on Facebook it's Ellie Michelle, and on Instagram I'm Elemental Spirit. So elemental as in like the elements, but there's 2 L's, so it's like because I'm Ellie elemental, so it's ELLE mental, and then period spirit. So also the balance of like my mind and spirit. And so on my Instagram I post some of my writing and photography and some like dancing videos, because I feel like it's so that's that. And then Amazon, there's a link to that. I do have a YouTube channel that I share just like some free flow videos of me, like while I'm on a drive to or from work, because I have the time, just kind of in flow. I don't edit anything. I just kind of like, all right, here's a day, a moment, here's that. So that's not like, I don't even really share my videos onto any of my other socials. I kind of, the algorithm like puts it out to people on YouTube, and it's been really neat to get random people just like commenting and seeing some of the videos. yeah, it's not like it's funny because my numbers, I feel so silly. It's like, yeah, I don't have it's not about having a massive following or having like, just knowing that even a few people would see something and that it had a positive impact or whatever is enough for me, and knowing what I'm doing is at least touching, it's not about, yeah, I feel like I can get hard on myself where it's like, I don't have blah, blah, blah. I don't know. But yeah, I'm out there on the socials and the interweb sharing my things, and I feel like this new season is me coming into promoting myself, which still feels kind of weird to do, and I think that's why in general it's just like it would be nice to have more of a outreach that I'm sharing to, and just making those connections, and yes, that's
awesome.
Yeah. Period.
You're doing awesome, Ellie.
Oh, thanks, Rose.
we will share all the links, send me your links, and I'll put them in the notes for the episode.
Yay, we'll do. Yes.
So we'll wrap up this episode now. If you are not yet a paid subscriber to the Naturally Rosy Substack, and you would like to tune in to me and Ellie's second episode, the second half of our conversation, which we will get started on shortly, you can do a couple of things. One, you can pay me $5.55 a month or $55.55 a year and have access to the juicy, more vulnerable part of me and Ellie's conversation, as well as the more vulnerable halves of all of my conversations with my podcast guest, and other written content that is only available to paid subscribers. You can also, if you're not ready to take that plunge, you can do a 7-day free trial on my Substack, and then you get access to all of that content for 7 days. Yeah, so
it's a good deal, man.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, it's a coffee.
Yeah, it's priceless. Really, when it comes down to it. But like, yeah, that's...
yeah.
No, but it's worth. That's yes.
Yeah, mm-hmm. It is honestly such. I mean, I get it that it's like, it's money, right? And you're gonna, maybe I'm not the priority for people, right? And maybe they're gonna spend that somewhere else that is a priority, and that's great. I want people to prioritize whatever's authentic to them. And I know that when I make the decision to like pay for like a $50 subscription for someone for a year, why I do that is because I believe in what they're doing. Mm-hmm. Yes, part of it's like, oh, this is a nice perk of getting more of their content, cool. But ultimately, when I make that decision to like pay for a subscription for some content creator or, wellness provider, whoever they are, the reason that I do that is because this is someone I particularly believe in.
Yeah, you're supporting their vision and their heart and their path, and that's huge. An individual, knowing you're giving that money to an individual person and not like some big business or whatever. That's a yes.
So that's definitely how I receive it when people pay for a paid subscription. Is I'm like, wow, you see me, you believe in me. Hear great, more content, like I'm more than happy to give it to you. What you're telling me is that you like really care.
Yeah.
Not just about getting more content from me, but about my larger mission.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's yes.
Yeah. So cool. Maybe we'll see you on the other side. For now, spend some time outside today. Give yourself a hug and keep laughing.
Yes.